Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, this is the continuation of learning steam railway history with Foxy. I've just got to find where I last was, because it was Llangollen was the last one we covered in coverage of railway history. Right. You will be crushed. No, not really. No. Okay. Okay, one after Llangollen Steam Railway, Severn Valley Railway, Worcestershire, Shropshire, Kidderminster, 5.5 miles, 9 kilometres, south of Stourbridge. The Severn Valley Railway has reason enough for its claim to be Britain's premier steam railway. At 16 miles, 25 kilometres in length, it is one of the longest lines. It passes through some of the most delightful scenery to be enjoyed on a tourist railway. The train service is busy enough at peak periods to require 5 trains in operation. Its stations are superbly restored and quite individual in character, and it has one of the most varied collections of locomotives and rolling stock. Yet the character of a 1 hour 10-minute journey over the line can vary enormously. In common with other railways that operate a service for most of the year, the atmosphere fluctuates from that of a busy cross-country railway with powerful tender engines pulling long trains during the high season to be quiet country branch line off-season. Try a weekend in mid-March or even November, when the short trains are usually hauled by tank engines and stay until the last train of the day. At Highley, one of the smaller intermediate stations, only a handful of passengers await the train. The gas lamps cast an unfamiliar glow over the platform, and the only sounds are of birds in the wooded hillside above the station, the ring of bells in the signal box, the rustle of signal wires, and the metallic drop of lever blocks herald the arrival of your train. Its headlamps glowing, the engine rounds the curve with the orange glare from the firebox illuminating the driver and fireman. The cold air produces clouds of steam as the small-wheeled tank briskly climbs away to Bridgnorth. Such experiences are the essence of preserved railways. For almost 20 years, from the arrival of the first locomotive and 4 carriages in 1967, the historic Shropshire town of Bridgnorth was the headquarters of the Severn Valley Railway. The line was progressively reopened to the south until 1964, when the final section from Bewdley to Kidderminster reconnected the railway to the rail track network. By redeveloping the goods yard at the Worcestershire Carpet Town, the Severn Valley was able to build an imposing new terminus in traditional Great Western style. Kidderminster then became the railway's main station. The minute's walk between the stations encouraging passengers to use the frequent trains from Birmingham, a connection which the Birmingham-Worcestershire line also enables through excursions onto the Severn Valley Railway. Before boarding a train, it is worth spending time in Kidderminster Railway Museum, which provides an introduction to all the paraphernalia that railway companies produced as part of their operations. From signal box lever frames, which visitors can work, to the lunch boxes of footplate crews. As departing trains negotiate the points at the station throughout, they pass the new signal box on the left and the railway's turntable and storage sidings on the right. The exit from Kidderminster is unremarkable, passing a sugar beet factory that was the line's last source of freight traffic, but once through a 480-yard, 339-metre tunnel, the line enters a wholly different landscape. Heathland borders the line until the approach to Butray, where the animals of West Midlands Safari Park can usually be seen. The hometown of the former Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin is well worth an hour or two's exploration on foot. It has some fine vernacular buildings of medieval and Georgian origin, and a remarkably good museum illustrating such local crafts as rope making and honey farming. The station here was once the junction for lines to Hartlebury and to Tenbury Wells, accounting for its 3 platforms. Good views of the town and Telford's Bridge of 1801 can be had from the 8-arch viaduct to the north of the station. Colourful sails try to catch the breeze on Trimpley Reservoir, skirted by the railway before it descends through woods to the engineering highlight of the line, the Victoria Bridge, designed by John Fowler, who later designed the Forth Bridge and cast by the famous Coalbrookdale Company. The 200-foot, 660-metre span was the longest cast iron clear span in the world when it was completed in 1861. It is worth disembarking at the next station, Arley, for a pleasant walk beside the River Severn. That's Severn, S-E-V-E-R-N, by the way, just to remind each and every one of you, which is seldom out of view for the rest of the journey back to the bridge to admire its construction and its idyllic setting. The valley of the Severn is remarkably unspoilt as the train presses north through Highley Station to Hampton Road, to which generations of anglers have travelled from Birmingham over the years, and where a river ferry gives access to the opposite bank and its riverside pubs. Beyond the close hold at Erdington, a bend in the river increases its distance from the line as it traverses a deep cutting and short tunnel. A succession of bridges and viaducts precedes Journey's End at Bridge North, where the old town can be reached by the footbridge from the station. Train service daily during Easter week and from May to September, October half-term. Weekends in March, October and November. Santa specials. Telephone 01299 403 816/0800 600 900. That's how it goes. And now the next one, Snowdon Mountain Railway, Gwynedd, Llanberis, 6 miles 9.5 kilometres east of Carnarvon. In comparison with the Alps, Britain's peaks are pretty lowly affairs. But the grandeur of Snowdon, the highest mountain in England and Wales, has long attracted the fittest walkers. Until 1896, they were the only people to scale its slopes, but on 6th of April 1896, the 2-foot 7.5-inch 800mm gauge Snowdon Mountain Railway began operations from Llanberis to the Summit Station. It was a sad day for the promoters, for a locomotive derailed and plummeted down the mountain's side. Fitting an additional safety device delayed opening for another year, but since then the railway has operated without incident and carried millions of passengers up the 3,560 feet, 1,085 metre mountain. The Snowdon Mountain Railway is Britain's only rack railway that is, one equipped with a double-bladed toothed bar between the rails. This is engaged by a cog on the locomotive which claws its way up the mountain. It is worth examining both the pointwork and the mechanism on the steam locomotives to appreciate the skill of the Swiss engineers who built them. Based on a system first used in the United States almost 130 years ago and perfected on numerous railways in Switzerland. The station at Lanberis is close to the ruins of the 13th century Dolbadan Castle at the east end of the village. It is advisable to keep warm clothing on the 2.5-hour round trip, for the weather can change quickly and in severe circumstances the train may not proceed to the summit. But on clear days you can see as far as the Isle of Man and the Wicklow Mountains of Ireland, and the views of the surrounding mountains are breathtaking. For much of the upper section, the railway is built on a ridge, affording a panorama on both sides. Even before the first public train of the day, a special train with staff and supplies for the summit cafeteria, as well as any shepherds and their dogs needing to round up sheep on the slopes, will have struggled up the mountain. 4 new acquisitions from Hunslet in Leeds have ended the monopoly of steam on the railway. The diesels enable the railway to provide a more flexible service, responding to a sudden improvement in the weather by laying on more trains. On busy days, it is as well to remember that you are guaranteed a seat only on the train by which you ascended, allowing no more than half an hour or so on the summit. Train service daily from mid-March to the end of October. Telephone 01286 870 223. And now one more after this. Terryclin's Railway, Gwynedd, Tywyn, 15 miles, 24 kilometres west of McKinleth, yes, I think that's how you pronounce it. And I have once been to the Terryclin Railway many years ago in my youth. I went when I was about 16 years of age. I went to the Terryclin Steam Railway, which, oh my goodness, was now many years ago. It was such a long time ago, my youth now. It makes me feel quite old, old age. Terryclin Railway, here we go now. It would be hard to overestimate the importance of the Terryclin Railway in the history of preserved railways throughout the world. For it was the very first such line. The inaugural meeting to save the moribund railway was held in Birmingham in 1950, and a service was run by volunteers from the following year. Its successful formula has been emulated in other countries, from the United States to New Zealand. But the Terryclin's distinguished place in the annals of tourist railways might be of little account to today's visitors, were it not one of the most characterful of narrow gauge railways. The unusual 2-foot 3-inch 686mm gauge line threads its way up the south side of the valley of the River Fathu, most of it within the Snowdonia National Park. For much of its length it runs along a shelf in the hillside, affording views across the valley and towards the dominant peak of Cader Idris. But there are also wooded sections around Dolgoch a light for a walk to the falls, and on the final part beyond the Abergynolwyn to the terminus at Nant Gwernol. It was to link the slate quarries at Bryn Eglwyn's above Nant Gwernol with the main line railway at Tywyn, that the railway was opened in 1866. At the terminus, a new footbridge across the precipitous ravine and woodland trails enable visitors to explore the remains of the quarries and abandoned village, which were joined to the railway by rope-worked inclined planes. Besides the charm of its simple sections and the scenery, the Telegraph Railway is fortunate in having 7 very different steam locomotives, including the 2 original to the line, albeit frequently rebuilt. If they seem familiar, it may be because several have been the basis of characters in the Reverend W. Awdry's books for children, Sir Haydn, which appears as Sir Handel. I remember this character because I used to see the Sir Handel on the Thomas the Tank Engine television as a little boy. And Edward Thomas as Peter Sam, yes, I remember that too. Thomas the Tank Engine, I used to watch that as a little boy, and I saw them on the television. Terry Flynn as Scardoe and Douglas as Duncan. Yes, I remember Duncan. What a character. Those characters, they bring back memories from years ago, don't they? And the Scardoe. Thomas the Tank Engine, I saw it on the television. In stories about the Scardoe Telegraph Railway, yeah, know that well. It would take an expert to distinguish between the line's original coaches, which are used on heritage trains during September weekends, and the more recent products of the Telegraph carriage works at Pendra. The overall appearance is very similar, but the older vehicles are usually four-wheelers, an exception in the observation car number 17, which was used on the nearby Corris Railway until 1930, when it was sold for use as a garden shed and greenhouse. Now restored to its original brown livery, it provides the clearest views from the railway during the 55-minute journey. Train service daily from late March to October, and Sundays from mid-February to late March. Santa specials. Telephone 01654 710 472. The end. This is coverage of 3 stories in this next episode, and the next episode will not be the continuation of Learning Steam Railway History with Foxy, just to say, everybody. The next episode for that will probably be either episode 89 or episode 90, being the continuation of Learning Steam Railway History with Foxy. So it will be either episode 89 or episode 90, being its continuation of it, just to say, or if not episode 90, episode 91. And then I'll really try and finish it off whenever I can. Thanks all for watching, and I'll certainly see you in the very next video. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy.